Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out I Do Work Here Lady. Story 1. God asked this today. I do work here, lady. So I've worked at a deli in a grocery store for about 2 years now. I have never been asked if I worked at the store until I was going on break today. Glad I can finally contribute something to this subreddit, even if it's for something as stupid as this, lol. Story 2. Playing trains. I do work here, lady. This dates back to the early 2000s when in the UK the most common way to plan your train journeys before the local franchises had decent websites was to phone up a service called National Rail Inquiries, who would provide you with all the details you needed. At least in theory. My now ex needed to travel into London on a Saturday, and being a nervous traveler, she phoned up asking for a route with no changes and no replacement bus service, which is often laid on at the weekends to cover sections taken out of use for engineering works. As she hung up, I looked at the details she'd noted and immediately spotted something that looked wrong. So I picked up the phone, hit redial, and by a lucky chance I got the same guy, and confirmed the journey details with him. Me, and there are no engineering works on that line. Him, no, there aren't. Me, can you just double check that for me? Him, starting to sound slightly irritated, okay sir, there are no engineering works on that line on that date. Me, you're absolutely sure about that? Him, slightly more irritated now, yes, sir. Me, you're certain? Him, now clearly getting annoyed, yes. Sir. Me, that's interesting. Him, an exasperated sigh and tone dripping with condescension, oh? And why's that, sir? Me, because I'm the technical officer supervising ripping out and replacing 200 meters of rail on that line between Station A and Station B, so I'd be very interested in hearing how you intend getting your trains into my worksite and what you plan on running them on when they get there. There was a pause that went on for a few seconds too long, then as if the entire preceding conversation hadn't happened he said, due to engineering works a replacement bus service will be operating between. At which point I interrupted him with my own exasperated sigh, yes. I know. I just basically told you that. Now I'm going to hand you back to my partner, this time can you please give her the information she's asking for? Not the most dramatic example, but I found it quite satisfying at the time. Story 3. Karen, can't you see? I do work here, lady. Some background and setup. So I work at a mid-sized international airport. Not TSA for those that want to complain. Like at most airports, we have Uber and Lyft, and ride-share services. With a designated pickup location that is directly below baggage claim. This has been the spot since before the pandemic, as it took out the confusion and hassle of dealing with Uber people. There are about 40 signs in total that indicate, direct and point passengers to where they need to go for ride-share location in each of the baggage claim areas. Not only that, the app for them direct them where to go as well with instructions, and there are other signs throughout the airport. I was working along with a supervisor directing traffic outside when an older man approached us to ask us where Uber picks up. Even with signs everywhere, people often don't read/pay attention to their surroundings. We start directing the man to go inside down the escalator and to the pickup spot when she roars in. While her name is Debbie, we will know her as Karen for the story. Karen is the wife of the gentleman who asked us the location and was speaking with. Note he was very polite and kind to us during the whole encounter and is blessed with much calmness since being married to Karen. The pickup spot is here, I told you, they will pick us up from here, Karen yells out. I address Karen and point out, no, this is not that Uber and Lyft pick up downstairs. If they come up here they get in trouble. Arguing with me as if I don't know what I am talking about, she replies, no, they pick up here, I know where the pickup is. As it is a hot sweltering day of around 100 degrees, I am already in a mood, and this one wants to debate where things are. In my most condescending but polite and professional manner, no, they do not, there are signs to direct you downstairs where the pickup is located. Smuggle, there are no signs saying this. I looked, this is when the light bulb goes off, laying the bait and trap. I ask, yes there are, Would you like me to show you the signs? Yes, I would, she says with a shit-eating grin, thinking I would not waste my time or be able to correct her, as she must be right since she Karen. Absolutely, I will right this way, I say and begin walking to the door. I hold the door open and prepare myself to be the best tour guide of signage on the face of the planet. After coming in, I directly point out the sign right inside the door saying rideshare with the Uber and LYFT logos and the words downstairs on a poster directly near the door we just entered. I then walk over to one of the 3 carousels and point out the 6 signs on and around the carousels. I don't see them. What are you talking about? Karen strikes back to discourage me from speaking. But miss, they're right here. The black Uber logo and the pink LYFT are very large and able to be seen clearly. I point them out as if displaying an item on the Price is Right. Before moving on to the large 4-foot wide 5-foot tall sign on the elevator that shows the same logos and in very large font rideshare downstairs in bold text. I stand next to this one and point it out. She leans in as if she can barely see them. Well, there is just too much noise going on in here, she says as the grin turns to a grimace. I am still unsure as to how noise affects eyesight and reading ability. But Karen, most of the signs in the whole baggage claim are pointing you to locations of interest such as the pickup location of Uber and LYFT, I say with mock shock. I continued to point out sign after sign around baggage claim, before Karen states, there are none at eye level. This is where the best part of my whole week happened, as if Christmas came early and the spotlight leveled on me. She says this standing in front of a poster sign that is directly in the same height as Karen. I take the top of the sign and rock it back and forth, making it clank and shake. Karen, this is eye level, I say with the biggest smile on my face. You only need to look. Karen has been backed into a corner and I had her on the ropes. Well, there are none. Before I saw none on my way into baggage. Like a wounded animal attacking with the last bit of energy before the end comes. I can show you the ones further in the airport as you walked here if you want. This is where her husband, the kind old man, speaks up. Let's go, Karen, at which point I learned her true name. The old man had a smirk on his face as Karen slowly walked into the elevator with her husband and my supervisor. I was told later on by that same supervisor that as they exited the elevator, which also has signage inside for Uber, that as they exited he continued to point out the signs that were downstairs all the way to the curb where they were able to get on their way. Story 4. Yes, I teach a college class. I do work here, lady. This happened a couple of years ago. I was teaching an Army ROTC class at a big university. There were 32,000 undergrads and absolutely inadequate parking for the faculty and staff who teach that many students. There was a pretty big parking garage where I normally parked. The first several levels were for faculty and staff, the top couple were for students. So I park my car, get out and here, excuse me. I'm in my military uniform, which is very similar to what the cadets wear. I turn around and get told that these spots are for faculty and staff, which I acknowledge. Yes, I'm faculty. You teach a college course? You look a little young to teach here. So I gave a super condescending, "Aw, thank you. I try to take care of myself. I really appreciate that. I have to go teach now, you can check my pass, it says faculty and staff, just don't touch my car." Story 5. Do I work here or not? I do work here, lady. This one is kind of different. I was working at Blockbuster as an assistant manager while I was going to school. I would go to classes during the day and work the closing shift. I'm not sure if it was a company or district policy, but they wanted the manager and assistant managers to work a variety of shifts, with each one working at least one opening and one closing shift per week. I had no problem with that, but let the manager know that because of my class schedule, I would only be able to open on the weekend. He was fine with that because no one really wants to open on the weekend anyway. I had been there for about 6 months when we had a manager change. I explained to the new manager about my school schedule and the arrangement with the previous manager. The new manager didn't like that arrangement and wanted his assistant managers to have more flexibility. I told her I understood, but I wasn't going to give up school for this job and gave my 2-week notice. I rarely saw the new manager because she opened on the days that I closed. I worked my normal schedule for the next 2 weeks. A few days before my last day, I looked at the next week's schedule and I was scheduled for my normal schedule. I enjoyed the job, I got paid a little over minimum wage to talk to people about movies and it fit my school schedule. The only reason I was leaving was because the new manager wanting me to be more flexible. I thought that maybe the new manager had changed her mind and was willing to be more flexible. Since I had given my notice, I could have left my uniform on the manager's desk and dropped my key in the return box after locking up the store. But since I enjoyed the job and the schedule I was scheduled fit my schedule, I decided to continue working. The next week, I was still on the schedule. I kept working and I kept getting paid. This happened for about 6 weeks. Then I went in to open the store on a Sunday after being off the previous day. I opened the door and went to turn off the alarm. The alarm said I entered the incorrect code. So I entered it again, same result. After the third attempt the alarm started going off and the police were automatically dispatched. I went out front and to get away from the wailing sirens and to wait for the police to arrive. When the police arrived, I explained the situation and showed them my lanyard and showed them that I had the key to the store. I told the officer, "I do work here, lady." The office wanted to talk to the manager, but since I had only met her the one time I didn't have her number with me, but I explained to the officer where the schedule book was and that it had everyone's number in it. She went in and got the book and called the store manager. I could tell the officer was looking concerned as she was talking to the manager. After she got off the phone she asked me if I wanted to change my story. I said no, that I was just there on my normal shift to open the store. The officer told me that the manager was on her way down, but informed the officer that I used to work there but quit about 6 weeks ago. I nervously laughed and explained the ordeal to the officer. I could tell she didn't believe me until I suggested she look at the schedule. She even commented that I was scheduled for 4 days the upcoming week. The manager finally arrived and talked to the officer. While they were talking, I took off my polo shirt and handed it to manager along with my lanyard and the keys to the store. The manager then looked flabbergasted and asked me who was going to close the store next week. The officer and I looked even more flabbergasted, looked at each other and I replied, "Not me, I don't work here lady." That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.